The Lord of the Rings. Gollum is an upcoming action-adventure game, developed by Daedalic Entertainment, and co-published by Daedalic Entertainment and Nacon. It is based on The Lord of the Rings. The game is scheduled for release for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One and Xbox Series X consoles in 2022. The game's developers spoke exclusively, in his interview, about Gollum's mixture of stealth action and interactive narrative gameplay, how they're expanding on Tolkien's original fiction, how they tried to create a version of the character you actually want to spend time with, and more. Gameplay details. Gollum will be a game broadly spent in two distinct states, either stealthily making your way past the various hulking threats living in Mordor, and making narrative choices as the warring personalities of Sméagol and Gollum fight for control. Stealth gameplay details. The former should be familiar to many. The game mixes stealth with vertical climbing parkour, explains lead game designer Martin Wilkes. If you want a reference, you might think of it as similar to Prince of Persia. It is mostly a non-combat game, but Gollum will be able to stealthily take out enemies. However, this will not be easy and always come with big risks. We want players to carefully weigh these encounters. After all, Gollum's strengths lie in cunning, not combat. That focus on cunning over combat means you won't be directly taking on enemies. Instead, you'll be relying on scavenged items, environmental hazards, and even newfound friends for help. Gollum doesn't use weapons, but he can distract enemies with throwables. In parts of the game, he will also profit from the abilities of special allies and can use the environment to his advantage. Narrative gameplay details. Between those stealth sections, Gollum will be forced to make decisions and dialogue choices, choosing from responses proposed by both his gentler Sméagol personality and the Gollum psyche that emerged after he was corrupted by the One Ring. So, do those decisions mean there's a branching narrative to play through? The game developers say that there is also the decisions you make affect the way the game feels. You always either play as Sméagol or as Gollum as the dominant persona, and that can influence animations, soundscapes, certain gameplay situations, and in-game dialogue. Daedalic's quick to make clear that it won't be changing the source material. This is a prequel to the Lord of the Rings books, meaning Gollum has to reach a set place by the end of the game, but the journey there can change. Gollum's level design and structure. Middle-earth is a huge place, and we've seen other games adapted as an open world, but Gollum will take a slightly more curated approach. The game is, for the most part, structured in sets of levels and hubs. When Gollum arrives at a new location, the places where he can go from that hub are limited until he either works his way in. For example, the prisons of the Dark Tower, finds secret passages or information, or manages to scheme his way into otherwise restricted areas. Some levels are completely open in all three dimensions and can be explored freely, while others are more linear but often with alternative routes where players can, for example, decide if they rather sneak around some guards or take a risky parkour route in vertiginous heights to pass the next segment. So what are we doing all of this stealthing and inner warring for? We knew previously that the game would be set in the relatively unexplored time period before we meet Gollum in the Lord of the Rings books, and now we know how this new story begins. The game developer explained. We start our story parallel to the first book when Frodo is still in the Shire and knows nothing about anything. Gollum at that time ventures to Mordor, still desperately looking for Bilbo Baggins and the ring. Unfortunately, he gets caught by Sauron's servants, and this is basically where our story begins. And one of the most popular questions is, what are Gollum's overall goal in the game? The answer of this question is explained by developer. Well, That's a bit more complicated. Obviously, Gollum wants to escape his captors and retake the ring, and hopefully get his hands on some nice fish along the way. After some time, though, the Sméagol side causes trouble and distractions and opens up new, conflicting goals that we cannot talk about yet. Release date: Lord of the Rings. Gollum was originally slated to release in late 2021, but in January 2021, developer Daedalic Entertainment announced that the game is being delayed until 2022, with no more solid window given than that. As part of the delay announcement, Daedalic Entertainment also confirmed that it'll be partnering with Nacon to publish the game, with the companies saying in a joint press release, via Polygon, that they're joining forces to ensure that the game will meet the expectations of fans of The Lord of the Rings and fully leverage the power of the new generation of consoles.